Hi guys, Deb Acker here, back with another video, and the title of today's video is how do we turn on our asshole detectors, or asshole guy detectors, so to speak, and really how do we stop attracting these types of guys in our life? And I'm smiling because I'm so freaking excited to share this topic with you. So for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm an intuitive coach and I work mainly with women to help them to heal their past, heal their childhood patterns, specifically around abandonment and the abandonment that can show up when we have physically and or emotionally unavailable parents, right? And so as I always do in these videos, first and foremost, so I want to start with where this roots in. Right? And so many times when we do have physically and or emotionally unavailable parents, right? So many times what ends up happening, and what ends up happening is we sort of expect people to let us down, right? We expect rejection, right? We expect sort of that sporadic behavior, right? We expect inconsistency, right? So first and foremost, see if you can identify with any of that. Right? It's so super common. It's especially common when we have, again, emotionally and or physically unavailable parents, right? So on some level, what ends up happening is we equate love equals being a jerk, right? Love equals being let down. Love equals people not showing up for us. Love equals people treating us poorly, right? So see, again, if you can relate to any of those. But if any of those were any of your paradigms when you were growing up, what can happen and what ends up happening is we take that into our adult reality, right? And until we, first of all, become aware of that and then start to shift that over and over and over again, we can attract what might be called an asshole. The reason this topic actually came up, I was talking to a friend last night and she was sharing with me some of her dating adventures and I was like, oh my God, I gotta do a video on this, right? But just again, noticing, okay, has that been your experience, right? And first and foremost, what ends up happening is when we attract asshole after asshole after asshole, right? When we attract those over and over and over again, what can happen is we end up creating a reality where we expect guys not to be nice, right? We expect men to be jerks. So again, notice if that's true for you, or notice if that's part of your paradigm or part of your love and or relationship paradigm. With this too, what ends up happening is instead of saying, I'm going to hold the bar higher and actually say I'm going to attract a higher caliber of person, a higher caliber of guy, right? Instead of doing that, what ends up happening is we actually make our bar lower and lower and lower, and we begin to accept less and less and less, right? We accept, more asshole and less, we don't hold the bar high enough to say, okay, I'm worthy to be treated kindly, right? I'm worthy of more, right? So again, notice if you can relate to that in your behavior. But again, first of all, being able to detect, if a guy is a jerk or not in your life. And I'm always about being in relationships. So I'm not encouraging you just to literally, make assumptions or jump to conclusions, but I am encouraging you to use this inner detector we have in our bodies, which I'm going to walk you through an exercise to start to do that, to start to identify this and then gain more information by being in relationship with them so that you can determine, are they a good fit for you, or are they an asshole or an asshole in disguise, so to speak, right? So that's first and foremost, is just recognizing those couple of pieces. So with this right now, what I'm going to have you do is I want you to close your eyes. And first I want you to bring forth 3 or 4 good guys, right? These could be guys you have dated, and it could just be a family member, a friend, a coworker, but 3 or 4 guys you consider good, upstanding guys. And they could be guys from, your present, and it could be guys from your past too, right? So just bring forth 3 or 4 really good, good men, good-hearted men, period, right? And with this, I want you to feel what do they feel like, right? These good guys, can you feel that they have a good heart? Do they feel light in your body? Just sort of noticing what the texture is that they have for you. When you place these 3 or 4 guys, in your field, do they have some kind of texture for you, right? Can you feel sort of oh, their goodness, right? Can you feel something that stands out that can be a determining factor to help you just start to recognize, oh, this guy has the potential to be a good guy. And now what I want you to do is I want you to place 3 or 4 guys that are not so good in front of you, right? And, there's an important distinction here between a guy just doing something that's really not nice, but fundamentally being a good man, and a guy who's just a complete jerk, right? So I want you to really think of 3 or 4 guys, right, that are really not nice, right, that are fundamentally jerks, that maybe you even going into, say if these were guys you dated, again, they don't have to be guys you dated, right, but if they're guys you dated, that's great too. But, like going into a dynamic, a dating situation, right, you started dating them and you knew sort of in your gut that this person was not a good person, right, and you went and you kind of continued with it anyways, right? And just notice again, do they have like a texture to them, right? To me, what always comes up when I tap into an asshole, so to speak, is there's like a dirtiness, right? Like a heaviness to them. A lot of times they feel very transactional or ego oriented, right? That it's all about them and, what they get from the relationship, right? They don't feel like they love themselves. They don't feel like they care about themselves. And they definitely don't feel like they care about other people. So, those might be nuanced or harder for you to define, but just seeing if you can pick out a specific feeling or specific commonality in those 3 or 4 guys that may help you to determine in the future if that person's not a good guy, right? And I always encourage people to be relational. I encourage you to get to know the person, but it's important to notice when you have those red flags, right? And to be able to recognize that and to say, okay, there's some red flags here, and to make the conscious choice, okay, I'm either going to move forward and be aware of those red flags and not deny them, right? Or, you know what? I'm going to put my time and my energy and my attention towards maybe some other guys that maybe don't have those red flags, right? Really, really noticing this and noticing too, or knowing, the more you say yes to guys that are not nice, right? So the more you keep, you keep giving a guy a chance, right? He's done a bunch of things that are red flags. Or he's done a bunch of things that, are not nice. And if you keep giving him that chance, what you do is you tell the universe, source, God, however you define it, right? To bring you more of that, right? To bring you more of that type of person, right? Because you're saying yes to it, so you're energizing it. Right? So just understanding that. Now, how we shift this, how we begin to shift this, and how we stop attracting assholes in our life, right, is really to start to love ourselves more. And, one of the biggest ways that we can do that is by setting boundaries and saying no. Right? So when something's not acceptable, don't just accept it. A lot of times when I'm talking with clients and also when I'm talking with my friends, a lot of times what happens is they excuse behavior that's not excusable, right? They go, oh, that's okay, or, that's not a big deal, right? And a lot of times they say this to the guy, right? So the message that you end up giving that person is like, yeah, sure, you can treat me however you want to treat me, or, and I'm not going to stand up for myself, right? I'm not going to, step into my worth. Right? So it's so important to notice that, but it's important to start to say no and to set stronger boundaries around this. And of course, too, if it gets really bad, or if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of red flags, walk away. Because again, the more you say yes to the stuff, the more you tell the universe to bring you more of this. So that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I love talking about this topic and just these topics in general, because you know what? I believe our journey is us stepping into our worth, us knowing how to love ourselves. I can tell you that, the more I love myself, the more I've owned my worth, the less assholes I attract in my life. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying these videos, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you want to grab my kit, the link is below, my Healing Through Abandonment kit. And if you're looking to dive deeper into one-on-one work, you can head to deboraacker.com, and there I have a complimentary catalyst conversation where we can talk about where you are, where you want to be, and how I can help you get there. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon.